Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Arrow Season 7, and this is going to be my review for episode 19 for this season, the fourth last episode, which is otherwise entitled Spartan. I almost thought I wasn't going to keep speaking English there and go into gibberish, which I almost did then, but let's move on. So obviously, spoiler it, and some stuff towards the end is pretty spoilerish, so yeah, if you've not watched the episode, go watch it and come back to this video later on. But of course, if you enjoyed this episode and you enjoyed my review, be sure to drop a like on it. Let me know in the comments section down below your various opinions on this episode. What did you like? What did you love? What did you dislike? What did you hate? And stuff in the middle. Let me know all of that in the comments. And if you're new to the channel, why not drop a subscription as well? So last episode was obviously the big, Birds of Prey-esque episode where we saw Laurel adopt the Black Canary mantle, essentially, go to Earth 2. But really, I guess the big thing that's really referenced in this episode is the stuff that happens right at the end where Mia is saved by a future Laurel. So we know at some point she comes back to Earth 1 and keeps on being Black Canary. So yeah, that was the future stuff. And speaking of the future stuff, as per usual when I do these videos, when there's flash forwards in the episode, we'll talk about all of them at the end, because it's just easier that way. But to begin the episode, we have a really good action scene, and just in general, the action for this episode was really good. And this episode, I don't think, was directed by James Bamford, who's usually like, okay, if he's directing, the action's really good. If he was, then fair enough, but I don't think he was directing this episode. But yeah, regardless, action was really good in this episode, especially the opening scene where it's like raining and because of the lightning, the lights are flickering and stuff like that. I thought that was really good. But we do see Virgil return, who, if you don't remember who Virgil was, he was the guy in the Ghost Initiative episode where Diaz was trying to communicate with him. It was like their first mission. And then he jumps out a window from memory, and I think that was it was like the top level, so maybe he had wings. I don't know. Maybe he's secretly Batman, or just has a glider or something. Or maybe there's a really deep pool underneath the window, but somehow he survived getting chucked out a window. I think. Anyway, if you didn't, let me know. But I'm pretty sure he jumped out a goddamn window. But essentially, he has intel from associated with the Defense Intelligence Agency, the DIA. I'll refer to them as the DIA from now on because I don't want to say that big name. But he had intel on that. And he's stopped by Oliver and Diggle. Almost forgot his name. Diggle, who is a big part of this episode, obviously. But speaking of Diggle, we meet someone from his past, that being General Stewart. Obviously, it's great that he's named that, especially what happened, what's revealed, and we'll talk about that right now. But we meet General Stewart, and you can just, and he's obviously a general of the DIA, and you can just sense some tension between himself and Diggle off the get-go. And as they're leaving, he mentions or just drops to Oliver that he's actually John's stepfather. And I was like, oh, okay. So that maybe explains why in the Elseworlds crossover that the Earth 90 Flash said, John, where's your ring? Because I guess on Earth 90, maybe his stepfather, that General Stewart came in, like that version on that Earth came in. Maybe John takes his last name, becomes John Stewart. Obviously, Green Lantern in the comics, so there's the connection. Now we do see Virgil pop up again. I think he's only in this episode twice, I think. But we see him attack, we're not necessarily attack, just go and basically raid Felicity's apartment, looking for Archer. Felicity's there. Pulls out a gun and there's like 7 people there. Don't know why that happened, but she gets the gun turned on her. But the DIA actually comes in and saves her. And was I the only one that was sort of just was reminded of that meme where it's like the riot squad coming in just through the roof and stuff like that in a really stupid way and just destroy a house? That's what it reminded me of. And also, I don't think Oliver and Felicity are on the top floor, so were they hiding in just between the ceiling of one level and the level below? I don't know. Anyway, Rainbow Six Siege, anyone? But this is where we learn that the DIA has actually been working with Smoke Tech, so that's how they knew everything and was just keeping up to date with everything. So connections everywhere. Now we learn why there's so much tension, especially on Diggle's end towards General Stewart, and it's because he actually blames General Stewart for his dad's death. Because in Diggle's mind, and I guess what he's been told, General Stewart actually led an operation that led to his father's death, while General Stewart left and was sort of like acclaimed as a hero and stuff like that. So Diggle's obviously a bit triggered and salty over that. And obviously this is salt is added to the wound when we learn that like half a year or a year after his dad's death, General Stewart starts dating his mother, starts coming over for dinner, and eventually becomes his stepfather and leads himself and his brother Andy through all these like high level like militaristic operation drills and stuff like that. So yeah, it was just he just feels he was given like a hard childhood from General Stewart, and also had sort of his childhood taken away because his father was killed. But we do see Team Arrow bamboozled, that's probably the best way to put it, bamboozled by Dante in the Ninth Circle, and are misled to basically ruin an undercover Argus agent's, sort of job and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, you sort of ruined my operation, but why were they misled? Oh, it's because Diggle and General Stewart went to do something else, and Dante like tranquilizes them and then takes them, and so Team Arrow bamboozled. So Dante 1, Team Arrow and General Stewart 0. Now I must say the Dante scene between Diggle and the General, I thought it was decent. I thought it would be a bit more, and there might be a bit more to it, just because it's like the focus of the trailer. Diggle and the General get captured, and then all this happens. So sometimes in something in the trailer you do think it's going to have more of a focus, but the scene went by pretty quickly. So there's, just trying to think there's probably bits in this episode where you could have taken like a minute off and maybe added more to that scene. But I guess they got to the point of it, torch it, get information, and move on. So I would have liked that scene to be a bit longer, just because it was Dante with some characters that we know. But I guess it was okay. If I had a preference, a bit longer, but I can live with it. But essentially what they want codes to get to this weapon, which is I think called Sigmus X1 or Sigmus X2, something like that. I don't know what the X stands for. If you want to let me know. X-Men 1, X-Men 2, I don't know. But that's the weapon that they're sort of going over, which is like a biological weapon, like virus sort of thing. So yeah, pretty lethal. But we actually learned that the General lied about the mission and exactly what went on. And this leads to Diggle essentially learning about it and finding out that it wasn't like the General's fault that his dad was killed. It was really his dad's fault. I think he took 2 other troops with him because of his negligence and stuff like that. So this basically like completely reshapes Diggle's just, view on everything. I thought that scene was going to have a bit more to it. Like Diggle might break down crying, just going, oh, look, all this stuff happened. But I guess they wanted to save that for a scene that happens later, which we'll talk about, which I thought was one of the better scenes in the episode. So I thought there might have been a bit more to it while I was watching it. But once I see the thing at the end, I'm like, okay, I understand why they saved it. But I did like how Diggle was just standing in front of like that green panel sort of thing, that green wall. They weren't being very subtle with their little Green Lantern references, weren't they? And I think even in the torture scene, I think General Stewart says something to Diggle about having the will or something, or will won't get you out of this. Obviously, willpower is what drives the Green Lantern. So yeah, lots of references. Honestly, did they name drop Coast City just for the Hal Jordan thing? If they did, let me know. But this weapon is retrieved. We see Emeco for the first time in the episode, I'm pretty sure. Always looking fine as hell. And Felicity basically decides to set like a protocol to self-destruct Archer because of what's happening there. So Archer is officially destroyed. And I was like, oh, okay, that's crazy. I wasn't expecting that. And we'll talk about something with Archer later, which makes me go, oh, crap, is that what they're doing? But we'll talk about that in a second. But this does lead to an Emeco versus Oliver fight where Oliver does get the upper hand, but, and also reveals the truth at that point. So it's interesting. Emeco is fighting Oliver and, obviously on the different sides of everything, but Emeco believes what Oliver's telling her. Maybe she had the underlying thought of what was going on, but just needed someone else to maybe bring that thought to her. So maybe she didn't think she was going crazy or anything like that. But Oliver does reveal the truth to her, but she is saved by Dante. And we'll bring that up in a second because we need to talk a bit about that because I saw people overreacting as to what happened. But yeah, we had the emotional scene with the General and Diggle, which, as I said before, was great because it did lead on from what, the reveal to Diggle, that reveal scene. But I really did like Ernie Hudson in the role. I thought he killed it. I thought he was I think it was like, I can't think of any actor they could have got to perfectly play this role. I thought he nailed it. I did hear that this role has a potential to come back. I think when they were casting the role, it's like, it's just for this episode for this season, but in the future he could come back, or this role could come back. So we could see this General Stewart character come back next season, which I wouldn't mind, to be completely honest, because now that him and Diggle are good, I think their interactions will be even better than what they were in this episode. But yeah, their interactions were good. I was wondering if there was going to be another Green Lantern reference, like an obvious one. If there was a little one, let me know, but there wasn't a clear one. So yeah, we missed out on a final one, I guess. But we do find out that Felicity's friend that's working with her, Elena, whatever her name is, actually downloaded the root source code or whatever it is for Archer before it was destroyed. And we do leave with her just like glancing at it. So is she going to be the one that brings back Archer in the future? I think that's what they're setting up. So maybe it might be Felicity dogging Smoke Tech, or like maybe leaving Star City that might cause Elena to go on and maybe give that source code to someone who's maybe not going to use it for the best intentions. But the final shot in the present day is obviously Emeco just going up to Dante, shooting him with like 3 or 4 arrows, and then stabbing him in the heart, and basically just dishing that, you know, you killed my mother, you tried to cover it up, and the whole thing. And as we've been saying for the past 3 or 4 episodes, he probably killed her mom just so her focus was just on the ninth circle, and that's what's revealed. Just like, I needed your whole attention to be on the ninth circle and everything like that, and your mother was getting in the way. Pretty brutal way to sort of set someone's focus straight, but I guess it's the Ninth Circle, criminal and terrorist organization. Now, we have seen people complain like, oh my god, Emeco's killed the big bad Dante, now Emeco's the big bad. Emiko isn't clearly the big bad, okay? There might be another change of heart. If you know Emiko's story from the comic, she's like flip-flop, flip-flop, flip-flop. So she's flipped, she's flopped, she's flipped. How do we know there's not going to be another flop? And flop in a good sense, where she'll come back to the good guys. I would be, look, I'm going to say it clear now, I would be very disappointed if Emeco actually is the big bad and they make her into this big villain and she dies, Oliver kills her or something like that, or she goes to prison. I would not like that. If they do that, they drop the ball, and you can record that, and I will stand by that point unless there's a grand reasoning that completely, properly changes my mind, but I really couldn't see them doing that. So if they end the season, Emeco's the big bad, I think they've fudged up. Let's keep it PG rated. They've stuffed up there. She shouldn't be the big bad. But at this point, I'm still happy with the story because she got her revenge. Dante deserved to die for what he did to Emeco. If you debate that, I don't know what you're talking about. However, if at the end of the season, episode 22, she is the big bad and it's like some final boss battle between her and Oliver, I'm not going to like it. I'm going to be completely honest there, and I'll stand by that point. However, I feel there's going to be another twist at the end of this season, which is going to lead into next season, that won't have Emeco as the big bad and just really have her as just this confused girl, or this confused woman who's had a lot of crap go down to her and she didn't have the best life. So hopefully there's another, we'll call it another flip from Emeco going into the, I guess the end of the season, maybe leading into next season, that just brings her back to Team Arrow, or at least just doesn't make her the big bad of the Ninth Circle. But yeah, just wanted to set everything straight there. Now, we did have some flash forward stuff. We just saw like them working on the AI helmet, and that basically ties into the end where the AI, what did I write? The Archer AI has this massive army, because we saw that one of them was basically just taking down like half the Canaries roughly. So imagine a whole army of them. We see, God, there must have been at least 50 or 60 of them just in that room, and they're just producing them like none other. So those, you know, God knows what they're going to do. So obviously that's the big mission for the future, stop that army from getting out and doing all this damage. But we also learned that John Diggle Jr. is there in the future. So we have Connor Hawke, who's Bronze Tiger's son. Then we have John Diggle Jr. And we find out that John Diggle Jr. is actually part of the Deathstroke gang. I think he's the leader. I can't remember if they said he was a leader or not. Let me know in the comments. But he's got some authority, I guess you could say, in the Deathstroke gang. And we find out that he basically went down the bad route, just to basically rebelling against his parents. And I guess Connor was the good egg in that bunch, and John Diggle Jr. was the bad egg, which is pretty random. But I can understand people having issues with that. I don't really care too much about the John Diggle character now, because Connor Hawke is the main one. But I would have liked to have seen him though. I thought it was weird he was just mentioned and we didn't see him. But anyway. But overall, I thought this was actually a pretty solid episode. I really enjoyed most of the episode. The flash forwards I didn't think was that interesting. It had some like interesting reveals I think, but I think this was like an episode where maybe they didn't have to have them in here, but maybe they wanted to tie it into the whole, like, Archer was destroyed, but it's still a thing in the future, and then we see Elena with the source code or whatever it is, so maybe that's why they're in there. But there wasn't actually that much flash forwards. It was like only a handful of scenes in this episode for them. But the present day story, I liked how Emeco got her revenge. I liked Ernie Hudson in the role of that. I thought it was a good Diggle-centric episode that still played into the main story of this episode. So I thought it was handled well. Like last episode was more of an episode that just didn't play into the main story. I think most people liked it. So this episode, you think you'd like it more because it played more into the main story of the season as we head into now the last 3 episodes of the season. So yeah, thumbs up from me, and I really enjoyed it. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comments section down below your various opinions on this episode. As I said before, what did you like? What did you hate? What was your stuff in the middle? All of that. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. I'll catch you later, guys. Goodbye.